key technical move on Bitcoin on this 4-hour chart, a break to the downside, a very key trend line of an ascending triangle. Much of the market has been tracking. You yourself might be tracking this right now. I want to discuss the target to the downside. I want to discuss, from my opinion, why a target to downside is, in my view, nothing to worry about. But I also want to discuss the potential and the case for a bullish pullback. What might trigger a bullish pullback literally today in the hours ahead? I want to talk about this. If you enjoy these videos, please hit that like button and subscribe for me as we get started. First thing to note, I was actually real quick editing the thumbnail for this video, and you see Jerome Powell there. Just the way that I think about this, what's happening today, Jerome Powell lurking in the shadows. This is what we have going on today. Minutes from the Federal Open Market Committee's January 31st, February 1st meeting are due out at 2 p.m. The minutes could provide insight into the recent central bank's futures rate hikes and its recent 25 basis point increase. So you see markets kind of reacting right now in kind of a very unknown, fearful way, right? This is S&P 500 6-hour chart, even the current 6-hour candle, pretty new candle opening for the start of the day, but indecisiveness. You see a little bit of fear in here in the very short term, this pullback on the S&P 500. And then we have this, and this is what really throws a wrench into things. And then we're going to actually look at the target to downside and the bullish play to the upside. And more specifically, we're going to tie it together on the daily to really explain why, in my opinion, I don't think this short-term move is a bad thing at all. In a news conference following the end of that meeting that we're about to get minutes on, Fed Chair Jerome Powell said the return to smaller rate hikes would allow a more stepwise hunt for a possible stopping point. So this is kind of, at the time, was bullish, and that officials spent the session talking quite a bit about the path forward as the central bank nears what may be the end of its hiking cycle. So initially, the meeting seemed bullish, and markets kind of reacted to that. But here's the thing, here's the kicker. That session was also held before key data releases that showed unusually strong job gains in January and less of a slowdown in inflation than anticipated. So that brings right back into the equation some fear about, well, is Jerome Powell, our good buddy there in my thumbnail of this video, is he going to be a little bit more hawkish moving forward because of this jobs gains data in January? Now, let's discuss from a technical perspective the move on Bitcoin. Obviously, Bitcoin reacting to this move and moving with markets, as is the case, heavily correlated to stock market and all of this news and these news headlines. But the technicals, they have not failed us really at all. And I've been doing YouTube videos on Bitcoin and crypto for 5 years, and this is what we're looking at. We got the break to the downside. Note the target to the downside right around $22,500 or so. We're going to discuss why that's so meaningful on the daily chart. But the first thing I want to discuss from the technical perspective is we have the break to the downside. If we look at Bulkowski's data, and this is on the patternsite.com, I enjoy his data for years. I've learned so much from him, and I continue just to evaluate his data, not use it as my number one, but to evaluate his data or as a reminder. So number one, volume trends down at least 78% of the time on these ascending triangles. And then the second point that I really want to note is just the fact that a pullback rate is 63%. So let's go look at this. Number one, we see volume trending down of the ascending triangle at the bottom of the screen. And number two, a 60+% pullback rate would look like a pullback for Bitcoin. So no matter what is going on with news headlines, I'm always anticipating a potential pullback to the trend line. Right now, around $24,400. What could trigger that could be an event. It could actually be the minutes, maybe the markets absorb and digest the minutes in kind of a bullish way. Maybe the markets react in a bullish way. This S&P 500 chart, we have to kind of track what the stock market does. Do we end green, right? This could be the case for the technical pullback on this 4-hour chart for Bitcoin. Now, if that's not the case and markets are falling because of the news, we have a clear target, a continuation target for Bitcoin to around $22,500. If we take into context price range wise, and then wait till you see what this daily chart looks like and how this comes together pretty nicely, we're looking at from where we are or where we've been to that target around a 10 to 11% dip to the downside. 10 to 11% dip to the downside is nothing. In a bull market, in a bear market, in a sideways trading cycle shift market, which is more where we are, But here's where things get interesting. If we're looking at Bitcoin, we start zooming out. This is a 4-hour chart still, but you see a consistency in Bitcoin in terms of the trend that it's been in. We are getting nice gains, and then we're kind of getting retracements. Nice gains, retracements. And we're going to look at what this looks like on the daily, but we're seeing some structure that we need to pay attention to. But take note of these breakout targets. So breakout target out of this channel hit for Bitcoin. This was mid-February. And then breakout target out of this rising wedge hit for Bitcoin back here in mid-January. Go to a daily chart. This is what we're looking at. Look at this. This is nothing new for Bitcoin. The fact that Bitcoin has a target around here on this chart, absolutely nothing new. So it goes to reason, yeah, we had a nice move to the upside and we're getting consolidation right now, even if just to the 20-day moving average. That could fail. This trend line to the downside could fail, but we wait. We track these things. That's why we're tracking a shorter term target to the downside. But I just think it's really important. We're in some red candles right now, but we have to track the zoomed out data. Like, what's the story that's happening? Bitcoin is still in on this daily chart, this trend of higher highs and higher lows. A retracement doesn't change that. A retracement is actually good. We don't want Bitcoin to get so overbought and overvalued on the short to midterm that then we have kind of a very steep capitulation event. So target to the downside right now on that 4-hour is right around here, but we do have just this area of confluence, the 50-day moving average and this lower trend line right around 21,800 to 22,000. So the $22,000 area is a very interesting range to track for Bitcoin on this daily chart. A fall to the area, in my view, put aside any structure that's happening here, a fall to the 50-day moving average, in my opinion, over just years of tracking this, is what we want to see. I want to see how Bitcoin interacts with not only the 50-day, but even the 200-day. The 200 days below $20,000. A move to this area and Bitcoin just tracking support at this area is important to see what happens, because we're getting this macro shift of all these moving averages to turn around now. And in that turnaround, we oftentimes see huge retracements to the moving averages to track to see if we get confirmed support at those moving averages. So this 4-hour chart, this 4-hour target to downside, Bitcoin falling to downside, I think it's kind of funny that there's so many bears in my comments because this is happening. I get what's happening with Fed minutes. I get what's happening with interest rates and the unknown of the markets. But everybody, when I go here to the weekly chart, I just can't help but see there is a nice cushion for Bitcoin to retrace, even below targets we've discussed. Here's the 20-week moving average around 19,500. I want to see what happens all in this area, short-term, mid-term, for Bitcoin to just continue consolidating in this huge macro shift that's happening. An important note, I probably should have started with this, 50-week moving average resistance right now in the Bitcoin weekly, and the 200-week moving average resistance just above. So huge resistance right now. Consolidation makes sense. Even going to the monthly, 6 days left. This monthly calendar is kind of moving very fast. We've been tracking this. We want to see how Bitcoin closes. Does it close above or below this 50-month moving average? An area, as we continue to mention, Bitcoin has never had to test and had to break back above. So we're going to monitor and see what happens. Maybe the time is not yet for Bitcoin to break above that 50-month moving average. But all the while, everybody, 2 p.m. Eastern, this big news kind of coming out, Fed minutes. There's probably going to be some volatility involved on the stock market chart here, even on this Bitcoin chart. We know what our targets are. We know what we're evaluating. And if we get that pullback to the upside, what happens there? What happens at the apex? Can Bitcoin break back in, or is Bitcoin falling 22,500? All the while, everybody, I go to that daily and I'm just going to hang out and watch, because the charts, to me, from a macro-minded perspective, they look fine. They look normal. And this is just my opinion, though, everybody. This is just how I see the charts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please hit that subscribe, hit that like. I'll see you all in the next video. God bless.